5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider, Sports Talk 1050, WTKA, online at WTKA.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub on the other side, and joining us as they do every single Thursday, 9 o'clock hour, it's MGoBlog Roundtable time. And joining us now, the MGoBlog Roundtable crew. They are busy in yearbook mode, the commemorative issue, the national championship issue, national championship edition that they're putting together. Seth Fisher, this is your life right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than my normal book, but I'm having a having a lot of fun with it. I just wrote the Ben Herbert article, which oh man, going through stories for that guy, everyone you talk to is like terrified of him. Anyway, it's a 3-year book because we decided we couldn't tell the story of 2023 without Aiden Hutchinson and whatnot. So yeah, we got about half of it on the page now. We've got about 3/4 of it written. Craig's got an article in there about how the team came together. You can find it at mgoblog.com/victors. So check it out if you haven't already.
mgoblog.com/victors. So go ahead and get ready. It brings about an interesting question. I'm using you guys as a little bit of a cheat sheet. Big Ten Media Days coming up next week. And so CBS sent all of us publishers out like a questionnaire. And one of the questions they wanted us to answer about our fan base is, what keeps your fan base up at night? So what keeps the Michigan fan base up at night? And I was like, of all the questions they ask, that's the one that stumped me, because I don't sense that there's anything that's keeping the Michigan fan base up at night at this point. And I call it the national championship afterglow. Seth, so I'm curious. I mean, speak from your perspective and then the perspective of, someone who runs a community. Do you sense that there's anything that's keeping you or your constituents up at night?
Well, I think that the Ohio State and Michigan State fans on Twitter are convinced that things that they say to us can keep us up at night. But it's kind of amazing how easily things just slough off now, right? Like we are all JJ McCarthy under the banyan tree right now, right? We are just all so zen. I mean, I guess we're a little concerned about quarterback for this year, right? Like to keep it going, but that's kind of far up. We beat Ohio State 3 times in a row. We got a national championship. Okay, Jim Harbaugh left, but like everything they come at us with is it's just funny. Like you see Scott Bell just having a ball with the people coming at him. They don't come at me like they come at him, but oh my God, I just just watching on the sidelines, it's amazing that they haven't figured out, especially Ohio State fans who've been there, who know what it feels like, right? And they don't understand that they can't harm us right now.
Greg, is it keeping you up at night?
Not really. I mean, I think what Seth said is accurate and sort of. I mean, I feel like the Michigan fan base is pretty calm. Everybody understands we're going to lose some games this year, probably going to lose some games, and nobody seems to be really too worked up about it. It's like, whatever. We'll be good. We've been great for 3 years. We'll be good this year. But the one question the people that I talk to all ask me, the first thing out of their mouths is quarterback. And I say to them, I'm more concerned about the offensive line. If the offensive line is good, if we can run the ball, our quarterback situation will be good enough. I think we have a high enough floor in quarterback that it'll be okay. And yeah, it'd be great if Alex Orji could come out and throw the ball. But in the end, if the offensive line is in the ballpark of what it's been, then I'm not too worried about quarterback. And that's what I've been telling people. What about you, Sam?
Nothing. Here's the interesting thing that I've noticed in fans, and because I've noticed it in me. I've tried not to speak for everyone, but I do observe. And the questions that normally keep people up at night on a yearly basis are exciting. There's excitement in the questions about, hey, what's going to happen at quarterback? Who's going to step up on offense? Who are going to be the breakout players? There's excitement about it. The pieces that I'm most excited about are the star players. How much better are they going to be? And the two guys that I'm looking at to take the biggest leaps, because we could talk about Mason Graham, we could talk about KG and the roles they're going to play, getting more snaps this year. I think they're going to be lights out. But I think Will Johnson and Donovan Edwards are going to take bigger jumps. And here's why. If you look back, and I was just with them a couple of days ago, and it's funny to hear them both talk about same thing, the similar things. You look back to last year at this time, and so remember, Will had the off-season surgery, and he rehabs, and then he gets re-injured in camp, and so the non-conference, he's out. Like, he's not, and so you spend the first half of the season either out or trying to get your legs under you. I remember he got that pick in the Minnesota game, that pick six. And I'm thinking, man, yeah, it's a good pick six. But I remember watching the run, like, man, Will's now all the way back. Just watching the run. And he said, Will said, hey, man, I played last year, the whole year, 75%. The whole year. Donovan, remember, he had off-season surgery.
Right.
He hardly practiced in the spring, like in fall camp. Or in the spring. And then fall camp, it's like, you're getting snaps, but you aren't full go. And then you get in the season and he doesn't really get his legs under him for some time. He's not hitting his stride until mid-season. And so now both of these guys have a full, healthy offseason under them, full healthy off seasons after they were just hitting their stride last season. You got basically MVP performances by both of them in the national championship game. So, and to have a healthy offseason on top of that, I think both of those guys are going to take, after having really good careers, in Will's case, a great career so far, I think they're going to have even better seasons, big time seasons, next level seasons this year, which should be scary for the opposition if it works out that way.
I did see, what the next step for Will Johnson Woodson, because you see how he was grading out last year in my charting, and he was a star. He was one of the best cornerbacks we've ever charted, and people saw it, right? The question is, can he get faster? Because
yes.
The one problem he had, you remember that play? He just got straight up beat by Marvin Harrison, right? And then he had to turn around. He made the play. He turned around. And he caught the guy and just took him down. And that's what he had to do. But you don't want to have to do that if you get singled up with Marvin Harrison, right?
Well, he blew the cover. It was a bust. It wasn't. Yeah. I don't think if it was just a flat foot race, who's winning the foot race? Maybe Marvin Harrison. I don't know. But in that particular instance,
you can make that bust. You can take that bad step and make it up on a fade route like that if you have the same speed as the guy you're with. When he turned around, he started grabbing right away, and that tells you that he didn't have the speed. Okay, we're picking nits. Right? We're saying like, oh, he lost one route to Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. That's how bad we're talking about. Now Donovan Edwards, I was really excited to see him this year, but then I fired up my new NCAA 2025 game, and he's only a 92 speed on there. So I don't know, Sam. Maybe if he's only a 92, we're not going to see the Donovan Edwards.
I said, Don. See now, listen. So Will is the highest rated player in the game, and I agree with that. Like I think when I watch Will, what's the next level for him? To me, the next level for Will Johnson is I think that Charles is a unicorn athlete. He's not Charles Woodson. All right. But I do feel he's Charles-like in this sense. I remember watching him when we were juniors at Michigan thinking, you know what? Every time he steps on the football field, there's nothing he can't handle. He's not going to run into that doesn't mean he won't get beat, but it's not like, oh man, he in this game, man, he's just something on this field today. He just can't handle that. And that's how I feel about Will. Like there's nothing he's gonna see this year. Because he kind of talked about it heading into the national championship game when he was about to face Roma Dunze. They were talking about Roma Dunze like this might be the best receiver that he sees all year. And Will was like, you got to know, Will is not a real trash talker like some other guys. But if you are around him enough, you'll kind of catch it. And he was like, man, I faced the best receiver in the country already. This dude is not better than Marvin Harrison. He's not better than Marvin Harrison. I'm pretty sure I did all right against Marvin Harrison, right? It's like he might make some plays. I'm gonna make some plays. Like this, no, that's not gonna happen. And he was right. He was right, right? So, I mean, if you can get down and do your thing on Marvin Harrison, if you can get down, do your thing on the field against Roma Dunze, these are 2 top 10 receivers. Like, there's nothing you're gonna see healthy if you're 75% facing those guys. And you're healthy this year, there's nothing you're going to see that you can't handle. That's the next level for him.
Oh, yeah, the athleticism's not the question. If you want to ask where can you take a step forward, we're losing Mikey Samer still, and Rod Moore's not going to be out there either. So you're going to have somebody who's making the coverage, knows what's going on. Makari Page has been out there a long time. I'm sure the other guys are going to learn it, but I don't think Zeke Berry is going to be that guy. But who in that secondary is going to be noticing where people are lining up, saying, you got to switch to this. You got to call the coverages, right? You have to have somebody who's leader out there. And Will Johnson, he's been, even as a freshman, he was advanced. And so somebody's got to be that level of intelligence. This is not something that most schools even have to deal with, right? If you're just running coverage all the time, you're not having to make these kinds of checks. Michigan runs a very complicated defense. They got super complicated against Roma Dunze. And if they're going to do anything like that this year, they need somebody doing that. And Will Johnson's probably the number one guy out there right now.
Yeah. And so Donovan, I think it's easier to see what the next level is for him. I mean, can you do it every down? And can you run with the discipline that he started to run with later in the season? It's been an evolutionary process. I mean, to watch his evolution has been something to behold for me, because he's been very public with how hard it's been. Like, he's used to being the man, so he had to get with being more of a play in the background or being number 2 a little bit more, and then being number 2 when he didn't expect to be. He didn't expect Blake to come back. He had to process that, and then when it wasn't going like he expected it to go, as the number 2 even last year. All right, now I'm not playing as much as I want to play. Then when I do play, I'm not playing as well as I want to play. How do you handle all that? He started to handle that, and now you got to adjust your thought process as a player. And when I talk about running with discipline, this is to me going to be the test. And I thought we saw signs of this in the spring game that carry over. This is why this was the biggest takeaway from the spring game to me, was Donovan Edwards in the 5 snaps he had, watching the discipline that he ran with. You guys can remember, like, he's always trying to hit the home run. And I would talk to him about it. Like, what do you see? You guys remember the Big Ten championship game against Purdue? He's making runs. It's like, man, this is video game stuff. And I get it, when you're superhuman, you could do it. Right. But are you going to make those plays all the time? I remember asking him on a stage, like, you got 5 yards play side. This is split zone. You got 5 yards play side, Donovan. Why are you not running it right here? He said, because I see a touchdown backside. Donovan, there are 2 unblocked players over here. Why are you not going to where there are players that are blocked when you're 5 yards? He said, because I want the touchdown. Well, it worked this time, but there are a lot of other times where it didn't work. Well, I think as we got deep into last year, you started to see him take the 5 yards. And if 50 comes from the 5, great. But I'm going to take the 5 yards. Now that he's the guy, can he maintain that discipline? That will be the challenge, because he has all the talent in the world. all the talent in the world. I think his body is right. He said he had put on a little too much weight. I think he got up to around 220. He said he's back down to around 214. He said he wants to be between 212 and 215. That's what he wants his playing weight to be. So maintain that. And if he can maintain that running discipline, where he'll take the 5 and let the 50 come from him like he did on that first touchdown in the national championship game, then he'll have the kind of season that I think he wants to have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question about his speed. He was fast 2 years ago. He's still fast. You know, he's a remarkably fast, particularly for a running back, I think. And the question has always been for me is his patience and his judgment at the line of scrimmage. And in the spring game and towards the end of last year, and particularly in the spring game, I thought, oh, I don't even recognize this guy, because I thought, I don't know if he had 5 or 6 carries, whatever he did, but they were remarkably patient and remarkably good. And so my hope, and that was something I'm not sure can be learned, but maybe it can
Yes,
be.
yeah, it can.
And it can. And it looked like there was significant progress there, or has been significant progress, particularly in the spring. So that was one of my top takeaways from the spring game was that, wow, this guy is all of a sudden a much more patient running back than he was, in the past.
Yeah.
So listen, guys, I'm wearing my 85 yards through the heart of Ohio T-shirt right now.
You
So
think
you
about
guys
it,
want to
though?
talk about you guys want to talk about 5 yards all you want to, but let me talk about the context of this team. All right, they need him to be a home run hitter as well. You can't just be looking for the 5. I don't want to have him running 25 times a game and getting 5 yards every single time.
That's not
Because
no,
this
no.
team
That's
is
not.
not
That's not
built
what I
that
said.
way.
That's not what I said.
Just don't.
Hey,
Okay,
you
don't
take
go
the 5.
backside and go looking for homers.
Yeah, you take the 5 and let the 85 come from it. Because if you look at his first touchdown, that's what he did. That's what he did.
Yeah.
It was an open zone run where he presses the A gap and a touchdown came from it. Right now, there gonna be some times where you do improvise, but is that your common practice? There's some times where you do cut back a split zone, right? Where
I mean,
you just
he's not going to have the vision that Corum had. He's not going to have that ability to just like completely mess up. If he develops that all of a sudden, if he all of a sudden learns how to like screw with linebackers' heads the way that Corum did, let's go. But no, I'm thinking about like the Penn State game last year, where the way that they were spiking the line, you just needed someone. If they were going to get that opening, if you have that crack, he's going to turn it into something. And now we have a running quarterback, and what that does is it takes away one of the back defenders, either one of the backside safety or backside linebacker. It's going to take away one of the defenders who normally would be able to play the run. So now you have only one guy downfield to beat, or in the case of Ohio State, 0 guys to beat. And that's the guy that I want Donovan Edwards beating consistently. And, talk about Michigan becoming a very good offense without Orji having to carry too much load. Orji just has to be a run threat to take care of one of the guys who are, unblocked in any run play. And then Edwards has to be the guy who takes care of the other one. As far as getting the 5 yards every single time, okay. But I think that they really need to be building explosives for Donovan Edwards into this offense and use Khalil Mullings as your 5-yard guy. If you want to just churn down the field a little bit, you have some other guys that do that.
Don't get caught up in me saying when I say take the 5, you're missing the second part of that. I said take the 5 and the 50 will come from it. Take the 5 and the 50 will come from it. So or the 85. Or the 85.
I hear you. I'm advocating for when Donovan Edwards is on the field, I want there to be an Orji keep available, and I want there to be some frippery. I want there to be some motion. I want Michigan thinking in the mind of, let's see if we can get him one of those matchups. Let's see if we can have more opportunities where a 5 can turn into 85, because that's where Michigan's explosives can really come from next year.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like everyone else in the Michigan fan base, I'm rooting for Alex Orji. I mean, but so far, we haven't seen he can throw the ball. I don't know. Has he thrown a pass in a game yet? Maybe one. And B, Have we shown any indication? I hope we can that he can run read options. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen him keep the ball on just straight up wildcat.
We've seen him
plays,
read
and
options.
He's good at it.
Those reads have been live, and he made the right reads. And keep in mind, as a quarterback, making he's done a lot of. It wasn't necessarily the read options specifically. He's been doing like inverted veers and stuff, right?
Right.
But
more inverted.
keep in mind, when the quarterback makes that read, they tend to lean towards handing it off. And so what you're doing as a quarterback, you're like playing basketball with the guy, right? Like, can I beat this guy into the lane? Do I have the athleticism? And then it's just a feel. You have to look at that guy and say, can I beat him? And I don't think Orji's made a wrong read yet, and he's made a lot of keepers. And it's harder to make the keep read than it is to hand it off, right? Normally, if you're going to lean towards anything, you're leaning towards handing it. And he has not kept it and gone down early before. Now, when he passed the ball against Alabama, it was really ugly. They had the play covered. They knew exactly what we were doing, and he didn't know what to do with it. So, but I mean, that was his one play in Rose Bowl. You can't make everything about that one thing. As far as the zone reader, I think he's been really good so far. We do have that information.
Well, let's hope.
Yeah, look. I think he is without question the big time favorite. They have not anointed him though. He has to win it in fall camp. Jack Tuttle will factor in because he was obviously didn't participate in spring ball, so you weren't able to really see what kind of factor he is in the spring. So that's a variable that will be at play in the fall. And then can Davis Warren, can he build on what he showed in the spring? And to me, the biggest step forward for Davis was how he performed when there was pressure. Like, Davis Warren, just straight drop back passing. I mean, Davis Warren, he can throw it a country mile. He can throw a touch. But how does he do when there's pressure and he has to improvise and he has to move around and he has to navigate the pocket? Well, he showed some progress in that area. He even showed progress in that area in the spring game in simulated pressure. It wasn't real pressure in the spring game, but you get what I mean. So, there will be some competition, but make no mistake. Alex Orji has difference-making characteristics. Now, will that equate to him being a difference maker on the field? I don't know, but man, the dude is a scary athlete. Like if it translates even a little bit, Seth, to your point, like wow, like I get what Jim people kind of like when he made that Jalen Milroe, he's like, oh, I see a lot. When I look at Alex Orji, I see a lot of Jalen Milroe, and they were like, stop it, like no, really, like really, Alex. I think Alex might be a better athlete than Jalen Milroe. I don't know yet if he's going to be as good a quarterback as Jalen Milroe.
Did you see that throw that Milroe made? That Rob Moore actually broke up, but that there was no effort to get the ball into the corner of the end zone from like his own 30-yard line. Like I don't know if Orji has that. I don't.
Oh yeah, see that. Yeah, absolutely. Orji. Yeah, I don't know if Orji can be a better. I don't know if he'll be a better quarterback. So understand that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll be a better quarterback or as good a quarterback. Okay.
No, but
just pure athlete and arm strength. Oh, dude. Yeah, there's no question. Like he's.
I don't want to be the one ripping on our receiving core here because you got a couple good guys and I believe in Tyler Morris, but they don't have the home run hitters at receiver that you have at running back. So where are your explosives coming from on this team? That's why I know you have to play it safe, Sam, and you have to they're not going to make a decision until fall, and I get that. But I'm not going to be afraid of Tuttle being passing the ball over the yard. He's going to stay within the offense, and he's going to do be a McNamara, we hope, right? If you want to get explosives out of this offense, you're going to get it out of the running game. You're going to get it out of Donovan Edwards one-on-one with a safety, and the way you get that is the threat of Orji as a runner. You're not going to have Tuttle be that. Tuttle can run a little bit. You're not going to have him be that big of a threat. Davis Warren can run a little bit too. He's not going to be that kind of threat. Just the threat of him being out there And the fact that he'll get 5 yards every single time because he's such an athlete, right? He's a real running back. And that kind of threat means somebody is not going to be on the running back in all these plays. They're going to have to stack the box against him. He'll be able to throw the ball downfield a couple times, but really your explosives are going to come from getting Donovan Edwards matched one-on-one, and that's what Orji gives you. And that's why I think he's got the skill that makes the offense better, where the other guys don't really, at best they can just be replacement level. Right.
Oh, it's a good point. No, it's a good point.
Well, I would footnote that by saying I think they have big play potential out of the slot. I mean, you can throw Samaj has already shown he can take a 5 and 6 yard pass and make a big gain out of it. So, I mean, they can throw the ball under to their slot receivers and make plays out of that, because that guy can make a play in space.
Yeah, their slots are the more proven guys.
Mm-hmm.
Their deep guys are the unknowns. I almost think they're deep guys. I think against Fresno State, you just got to throw it deep just to put it on tape, just to show people you got guys who can run deep. They're going to throw it up deep to Fred Moore. They have to throw it up deep to Marion Walker. And I might even split Donovan out a time or two and throw it up deep. Just to show we got some guys you got to respect down the football field.
And I think they're gonna get more man coverage this year, because that's, you're gonna want a Don Brown against Orji if that's the guy. So you're gonna have to throw the ball into coverage a little bit more. Michigan has traditionally not been very comfortable doing that. You're gonna have to ask those receivers to go and get it, and this is a good opportunity early in the season to throw the ball downfield to Marion a little bit and just let him get comfortable at receiver. There's a guy who's been bouncing around between cornerback, went down to Ole Miss, came back, right? I don't think he's had a lot of time on the field. And it takes just a few shots down there and get him a little bit of confidence. And he wins a couple of those balls, put some highlights out there. Everyone sees the cornerback was there and got mossed. And that could pay a lot of dividends later in the season.
Absolutely. All right. We need to get to a break. I know there are some other things we need to get into. I know you guys wanted to talk a little Michigan hockey that we want to tap into. I also I got to get your guys' take. Did you see Ross Bjork gave Ryan Day the ultimate job security? Did you know there's a dynasty down in Columbus? He said just Ryan Day has a dynasty going on. I say let the dynasty continue. Should the dynasty in Columbus not continue? I think it's the greatest dynasty ever.
I'm all in.
I'm all in too. I agree, Ross. It is a dynasty in Columbus. The Buckeye dynasty is great. Hey, go tell him right now. Go tell what's his name? What's the dude's name? Used to coach receivers down there. Zach Smith. Go tell Zach Smith they got a dynasty down there. Ryan Day, you got a dynasty. Love it. Ryan Dynasty Day. Dynasty Day. That's what we got to start calling them. Tell them all. Sam Webb said you got a dynasty. And Buckeye Scoop, you got a dynasty down there. Love the Buckeye dynasty. Don't you guys all agree they had a dynasty? It should keep on going henceforth and forevermore. Ross Bjork, yes, may the dynasty continue. Thank you, Steve Horn. We all agree. Michigan fans here henceforth and forevermore. We got to get to a break. Be back on the other side here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, The Ticket.
And we are clear on the radio.
Dynasty of excuses is what I want to say.
He actually said it. It's like, man, and you know what? They're fans. They say what we say. They just don't want to admit that they say what we say. Like, what do they say behind closed doors? I was telling Miz this last week. Just listen to what they say right after games. What they say right after games sounds eerily similar to what we say.
So, anyway.
Yeah, I can't repeat that one, Steve. You got to go listen to the post game to get that one. Ira cringed. He cringed when I said it, but it was fitting, don't you think, Steve? Oh man! All right.
So what is a dynasty, right? The dynasty is you're repeating the same thing that you've got a blueprint and you're repeating it. And I think that Ryan Day absolutely does have a blueprint. because he goes out there and he looks soft and then tells people he's hard, and then he loses to Michigan. And then they come up with an excuse. I mean, it happens every single year. This is a blueprint. This is a dynasty.
Yeah, well, I find the Ohio State fans, as wacky as they are, to be at least somewhat more grounded in reality than the Michigan State fans. I wish Brian was here to talk about that. I mean, their media in
If you're interacting with
particular.
Michigan State fans online, you're not getting
Well,
the full view of Michigan State fans.
Okay, maybe that's true. Well, I mean, some of my best friends here in town are Michigan State guys, and I respect them. But the Michigan State media is really wacky. I saw an article about how Michigan State was killing Michigan in recruiting this year because somehow Michigan had lost guys in recruiting. Well, you lose guys in recruiting. I don't care who you are. You're Alabama, USC. You lose some recruiting battles, but because Michigan was losing some recruiting battles, that QED, Michigan State was beating up on Michigan. I couldn't figure this out for the life of me. It was perhaps the craziest article I've ever seen. But whatever. Why am I getting this?
I don't hate how John. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask, did you guys go watch
I
Andrew
like him,
Babalola
John.
video yet? You watch a Babalola video yet?
I have not.
No.
I only
Why
watched.
you guys not watching Babalola? Seth,
I only watch guys.
video.
I've given up on that. I watch him
I don't
once
do that.
Michigan's committed. I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I don't watch. I don't watch 5 stars ever since you sent me to watch.
I remember. So running back. It was a running back. Was a running back who went to Alabama.
Oh, Najee Harris.
Najee Harris. That was the same for me.
Go watch Najee Harris, Seth. Go watch Najee Harris's film.
I did the same thing. I went out and watched Najee Harris, and then oh my goodness, why did I watch that? The guy was unbelievable.
Yeah, you know what I watched? I watched fantastic film. He was the most Harbaugh guy I've ever seen. I was like, this guy would be perfect for us.
Yeah.
And then, but you know what? We got Hassan Haskins. Did it work? It worked out.
It
Okay.
worked out fine, but but on the other hand, that my experience is the same. So I ain't watching any tape until they come to Michigan.
He told us to watch Walter Nolan's film. Remember that one? Go watch Walter Nolan. Go watch Walter Nolan, Seth.
Coming back on radio in about 20 seconds, guys.
Look, me telling you to watch, when I tell you to watch Andrew Babalola, the connotations are different than telling you to watch Walter Nolan.
Well, okay, but this guy, Babalola.
All right, guys, we're going back live on radio in about 10.
It's going to Stanford or Michigan, one or the other. Is that the deal?
We are back live on radio in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back both here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050, WTKA online at WTKA.com. Folks, before we get back to the MGoBlog Roundtable, I want to tell those of you who are in the market for a new vehicle, you should get on board with Brighton Ford. Go to BrightonFord.com, call 1-800-NEW-FORD, or make it out to the lot at 8240 West Grand River Avenue in Brighton, Michigan. That's where John Cuter and his crew will take great care of you with deals that can't be beaten. Deals like the one on the 2024 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend, $157 a month with $3,500 down, or $285 a month with $500 down. Or how about the 2024 Ford Explorer XLT, $223 a month, $3,500 down, and $349 a month with $500 down. And last but not least, the 2024 Ford F-150 XLT, $362 a month with $3,500 down, or $491 a month with $500 down. For those and other great deals, get on board with Brighton Ford by going to BrightonFord.com. Call 1-800-NEW-FORD. Make it out to the dealership at 8240 West Grand River Avenue in Brighton, Michigan. All right, fellas. So,
wait. On the break, you threw a piece of bait out for me. Babalola. I haven't watched this tape. What have you seen in the tape?
He is a freak.
Okay.
He is an absolute freak show. Okay. And as offensive line recruits go, Michigan has not landed. If they land him, they will not have landed a better offensive line prospect that I've seen than Andrew Babalola. He has it all. You're talking about a dude who is 6'6", 285. He looks like he's 265. He's a basketball player by trade. You see that basketball athleticism on the football field. He gives you the mean streak. He can put on another 20 pounds. He can bend. I remember, you try to get what the scouting cues are from different coaches about positions. And one offensive line coach, he said, when you're evaluating linemen, he would talk about ankle flexion. He said ankle flexion. So he said, when you're watching linemen, what you want to look for, knee benders or waist benders. And he said, how I look at the knee benders is can a guy get in his stance and keep his heels on the ground? I'm looking at his ankle flexion. If his heels come up, then hey man, that's not the ankle flexion I want. I want a guy who can be in his stance with the ankle flexion to keep his heels down. This dude is a knee bender, ankle flexion, explosive guy. He's got all the tools and the mean streak to boot. He is a difference-making prospect. Like, I don't throw around can't miss, but if he doesn't get injured, he's a can't miss dude. He's a can't miss dude. like lights out.
Is he going to be a football player or is he going to go to Stanford? Because, we should be, should we talking about his academics or his football ability? Because, I remember Miles Hinton was a perfect prospect too, but look what happened to that guy, right? Now he's just learning to play football again.
No. These are not the same dude. These are not the same dude. Not you got to watch the tape. You got to watch the tape, Seth. Now, could you wind up disappointed? There are no promises in life, right?
Oh, yeah, offensive lineman is the worst. It's the hardest. It's the hardest one to get. But yeah, I've been through my database, and there's nobody who's been ranked as highly as Babalola. There's I think the highest they've ever got was unless you count Miles Hinton,
Kyle Kalis.
Was it Tony Pape? No, I don't know. Kalis is pretty high. But I think Pape was actually the top guy in my database that they've ever gotten, and I would compare him to Pape. Pape was just big.
Yeah, he was just big. No, this is a big athlete. Like, man, you talk about this is like a staple recruit. This is like, okay, Sharon Moore, staple. This is like the guy that you make your stamp with this guy if you're able to get him. So
it's about you figure that if Sharon Moore is your head coach, that's the kind of dude you should get, right? Like if you're the Sharon Moore smash program, and you got a guy who's like deciding between who wants to go to Stanford because of the academics, and he's an offensive lineman and he can move around, like what program in history is better than that, right?
Yeah. So again, I think they're looking really good for him. I think it's Michigan and Stanford, and I think that visit was about countering the non-football aspects of Stanford, because you got to know, for it to be Michigan and Stanford, it's not just a football decision for this guy. It's obvious that it's not. So could they match those other things? And I think they did a really good job. People keep asking me, why haven't you put in a crystal ball? Reason why I haven't put in a crystal ball is because I like to have, before I put in a crystal ball, I like to be getting good vibes from all sides of an equation, not just one side of an equation. Because I put in a lot more crystal balls if I just was listening to one side of an equation, I'd have way more crystal balls in. But that can lead you down a path. That can lead you with a lot of wrong crystal balls. So I always wait to say, hey, are both sides saying it's crystal ball time? So
you asked if I saw the film. Has Babalola seen the film on Stanford and the slow mesh? Because if I was an offensive lineman, I would hate that offense. I got Nugent left there last year too, but I think they're still doing that thing where you're not allowed to go downfield, right? You have to sit there and wait for the quarterback to make his read every single play. You can't go and block a linebacker.
Yeah. So Hassan Hall, Zeke. That's Zeke. That's Chili's brother. I'm gonna keep calling you out, Zeke, till you let me meet Chili. By the way, like you said you would. And not even in the national championship year did you bring Chili up to meet me, man. That's sad. Anyway, is he better than David Sanders, Sam? David Sanders is the #1 offensive lineman in the class. David Sanders he had been rated the #1 player in the class for some time. I haven't checked the latest rankings to see. He's the #3 player in the class right now, the #1 offensive lineman in the class. I think they're 1 and 1A. They're eerily similar. Zeke. They're the same guy to me. They're literally the same guy. When I saw Dave, and I've seen Dave live, 4 or 5 times, I didn't think that they would be on a guy that was anywhere close to him until I saw Andrew Babalola. I think they're the same dude. So, yeah. He's that guy. He's that guy. So anyway, Michigan hockey. Listen, Craig, I was going to Michigan hockey, and then you came back with Babalola. That was just going to be a break thing.
Yeah, I know. For people who don't know, there's something in Michigan hockey called the Michigan Summer, because you never know what's going to happen. The guys end up in the NHL or sometimes minor league hockey, and so you never quite know. But this year we had some information that the team was going to be more or less intact, which surprised me. Well, it turns out not to be true either. They lost this summer. Frank Nazer, Brindley, Dylan Duke, Sean Casey, they all took off for the National Hockey League. Those are all excellent, excellent hockey players. And at this moment, there's a question about Rutger McGroarty. He will stay with Michigan if he isn't traded. If he's traded to another franchise, then he'll probably be off too. But so far, he has not been traded. They also lost Marshall Warren, a defenseman who graduated and who by the end of the year was a good player, at least here. And they lost both their goalies to graduation, Barczewski and Noah West. And they lost one of their top recruits, a first-round pick, a Russian guy named, I think his name is Mathai Gridin, and he's going to the OHL. So he's going to be playing minor league.
Should clarify what happened there is Canada, after Russia attacked Ukraine, Canada would not allow Russian players in the OHL, and then they backed off that stance. So I think that this was Michigan moved in when they had the opportunity, and then the opportunity disappeared, so we went to the OHL.
Yeah. With all that said, I think they're going to have a very good team this coming year. You've got, and I'm making this up on lines, but it's what looks vaguely plausible to me. They got a kid from the USHL named Hagee, I think, or I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, if it's Hage or Hagee. He had 75 points in 54 games for the Steel last year, which is a lot. And he also has a younger brother, Alexander, who's a top prospect. So that's nice. And I think he's probably a center. And I could see a first line with Moldenauer and McGroarty that would score a whole lot of goals. I can see another scoring line with TJ Hughes, Shifsky, who was a freshman last year, who played very well, is a good scorer around the net in particular. And they got a transfer from Colorado College named Evan Werner, who was a freshman last year at CC, and I think he's a nice player. I think he would fit with such a line. The third line I'm calling a flash line because they're fast as all get out. Hallam was out all last year. He could be the fastest player in college hockey. And they would piece him in with a transfer from Wisconsin, William Whitelaw, who's a fast skater, and Kristen Humphreys, who's a freshman who was on the national developmental team last year. He had 58 points in 58 games, which is good. And then I'm calling the last line a crunch line. It would be Ernesti, Estapa, and Draper, which would be a really good checking line. You'd still have a kid named Mikey Burchill, who's a really fine passer, who's a center who could fit in with one of these lines. So I see this as a good team. You have LaPointe, Tanner Rowe. I'm not sure if LaPointe will be back or not, unclear. On defense, even though they lost Casey, they got a kid named Tim Lovell from Arizona State, was the fourth highest scorer among defensemen in the country last year, and he'll take Sean Casey's place. He'll be the quarterback on the power play. And I'm guessing they might pair him with Truscott. You'd have a second pairing of Dylan Duke and Ethan Edwards, both really experienced, good defensemen. And then they have a 6'4" freshman coming in named Hady, Hady. I'm blocking on his first name right now. Begins with an H. He's a good prospect. He's big. He's physical. Not really a big scorer. And then the wild card, and I think he's going to be here, is they've got a 6'7" defenseman from Sweden named Gabriel Esiason. Very highly rated, also in the penalty box all the time. And if he's in the penalty box all the time in Sweden, they're going to have to work with him here. So, but he,
they call penalties in Sweden.
yeah. So, he's a physical guy. They still have Luca Fantilli, who I think became a better player than most people thought. Alex really likes a kid named Jack Wilson. I don't know if he's here next year or not, because in hockey, you never quite know. And also Dakota Reem Mullen, whose mom, I think, is the only woman who ever played in an NHL game. She was a goalie and played in an exhibition NHL game, and he's reasonably high regarded. There's some other kids that are unclear whether they'll be here or not, depending on how the roster shakes out. Finishing it up, I know you want to say something here, Sam, is that the goaltenders, they got three guys. They got a transfer from Ferris, who had a 910 save percentage, which I thought was pretty good, and 2.9 goals against, which I thought was pretty good since Ferris potentially or probably was the worst team in the country last year. And so to put up those numbers and that terrible team was not bad. They have a big guy named Cameron Corpy. He's 20, good numbers in the USHL, Tri-City. And they have another guy, Stephen Peck, who was in the NAHL, somewhat lower league at Bismarck, but he also has good numbers. So I think, even though there's been a lot of turnover on this team, that Narado has put together a team that's completely plausible and has a chance to be, again, a good team this year. Now, what do you wanted to say?
I was going
something?
to ask you guys. I mean, I
Mhm.
know there was a portal edition, but is the portal is it becoming a bigger thing in hockey?
Yes. The portal is big in hockey, and I think Brian told me about another guy who may be coming in through the portal, a winger, but I'm blocking on his name, and I'm not sure it's really happened. Finding out news about anything other than football and basketball can be very difficult. And, I don't consider hockey a minor sport. It is for many people. But it can be difficult to track exactly what's going on. In baseball, it's even worse. I looked yesterday. There's a guy who posts on your site, Sam. He's really good at tracking baseball. I should give him a shout
Oh
out.
yeah, he's big time.
Dan Cool, 1985. I mean, he posted something this week, and I looked at it. You have supposedly 11 and a half ballpark scholarships in baseball, which isn't really plausible in terms of running a program. So they do funky stuff. But he has 12 players leaving and 21 players coming in. So basically, Michigan, as with most, as Seth said, I think before, mid-major programs, which is functionally what we're at, until the Big Ten decides to put their foot down and say, we're not being part of this stupid game. We're going to do something else. Means you're starting brand new every year, and you've got a brand new team every year. It's a little less that way in softball, where you don't have quite the transfer issues as you
basically
do.
What you're telling me is that backage was the high watermark that we probably never get back to.
unless Michigan, and Bill Martin told me he was going to do it, because I talked to Bill Martin about this quite a bit, actually, or somewhat. I yammered at him, let me put it that way, about just saying no. We're not doing it. It's a summer game. We're not playing in January and February. Sorry, guys. I don't care what the Florida
it's
wants
never going
to
to
do.
happen.
Well, Martin thought it could, but then he got fired
Yeah,
or left.
I know, but things have changed in the NCAA now, and the biggest difference now in baseball, we were talking about this before the show a little bit.
Yeah.
Is with NIL, now you just need someone to step up and pay. One of the things that Michigan's had trouble dealing with the Southern teams is not just the schedule. It's the Southern teams basically gave everybody scholarships, and Michigan was hewing to the scholarship limits, which were ridiculously low. They're like, I think 12 and a half scholarships for the whole team. So Michigan will, if they have the money to put towards their baseball program, will be able to fill an entire roster and not just have to pick up leavings or try to get some guys who want to pay for themselves to go to Michigan and get a degree. So they can actually put together a full baseball team if they got the money. And I think softball started to put that together. That they figured out that they can compete with NIL where they can pay all the girls that they want to get. And I think baseball is going to go down the same path. You did ask quickly about hockey with the transfer portal. I know we're getting short on time here, but the transfer portal is big in hockey, but not like in football where it's like a lot of big names are moving around. There's only a few names, and those few names are usually like they're NHL picks and they're guys who are already signed to Boston College or Michigan, right? And there's not a lot of other places to go to get the kinds of guys that Michigan gets. There's a lot of kind of lower level players, so there's more kind of grad transfers that can help Michigan. There's not a whole lot of like picking at other people's rosters. The one thing that Michigan could benefit from is when you have like Notre Dame's going through a coaching change now. Wisconsin is a little wobbly. When a program that can get some of the guys that we're interested in starts to get a little wobbly looking, that's when we might be able to poach somebody. It has not made a huge difference yet in like it hasn't changed who can win. It hasn't made the big teams bigger or anything. It hasn't really changed the makeup. It allows you to get like one defenseman and a goalie if you need one.
All right. We are going to have to end there. That'll do it for another edition of the MGoBlog Roundtable. Always an absolute blast with the fellas. Seth, on your way out, tell people one more time about the championship edition of your book.
Yeah, I want you to go to mgoblog.com/victors. We're putting together a 3-year book because 1 year can't tell the story correctly. We're going through every single game. We're going through every single player. I just wrote the Ben Herbert one, which is a lot of fun. And my next thing is the big introduction that I'm going to talk about, kind of our thoughts on the whole season. It's a lot of original writing. It's a lot of our best writing from over the years. This is, if you're going to own one thing from MGoBlog ever, this is the thing. This is our I'm not doing this again.
Gotcha. All right. That'll do it for us, folks. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTK, The Ticket, the official voice of University of Michigan Sports, Ann Arbor, a Cumulus station.